Hi, I'm Delaney. For 3 years, I transformed the small patch of land behind my rented cottage into something magical, a tapestry of native wildflowers, heritage vegetables, and medicinal herbs that became my sanctuary. That garden was more than soil and seeds. It was my identity, my therapy, my connection to something larger than myself. Delaney, honey, your zucchini bread is absolutely divine, Mrs. Patterson called over the fence last Sunday, her silver hair gleaming in the afternoon sun. Those vegetables you grow have a special flavor you just can't buy in stores. Thanks, Mrs. P. The secret's in the compost, I replied, gently pruning my tomato plants. And maybe a little bit of conversation. I talk to these plants more than I talk to most people. Well, whatever you're saying, they're certainly listening. Will you be entering the Community Garden Showcase again this year? Last year's blue ribbon is still the talk of the neighborhood association. I straightened up, wiping soil from my hands. Absolutely. I've been nurturing these black dahlia varieties since February. Dad thinks it's a waste of time, but speaking of your father, Mrs. Patterson's voice dropped to a concerned whisper. He was here yesterday asking strange questions about your garden. Something about property values and neighborhood aesthetics. What exactly did he say? My stomach tightened as I recalled our last argument. He mentioned that wild gardens like yours might be lowering property values. I told him that was nonsense, of course. Your garden is the highlight of our street tours. I sighed, placing my pruning shears into my tool belt. That sounds like him. Ever since Mom left, he's been increasingly controlling about everything I do. Last week, he suggested I should grow up and get a real job instead of playing in the dirt all day. But your garden consulting business is taking off? Didn't the mayor just hire you to redesign her personal garden? He doesn't see it as legitimate work. In his mind, success only counts if you're miserable achieving it. That conversation should have been my warning. 2 days later, I was returning from delivering a workshop at the community center when I saw the smoke rising from behind my cottage. As I rounded the corner, the sight stopped me cold. "What are you doing?" I screamed, dropping my bag as I ran toward the flames engulfing my garden beds. My father stood there, gas can in hand, watching the fire consume everything I'd nurtured for years. The look on his face, a mixture of satisfaction and amusement, will haunt me forever. "Teaching you a lesson about the real world, Delaney," he said calmly as neighbors began to gather. "This garden nonsense has gone far enough." You've destroyed everything," I choked out, watching in horror as my black dahlias curled and blackened in the heat. "Now you can focus on something worthwhile," he replied, setting down the gas can. "You'll thank me later." Marcus, my neighbor from across the street, rushed over with a garden hose. "What the hell, man? You can't just burn someone's property." "She's my daughter. I know what's best for her," Dad replied, as if that explained everything. "I called the fire department," Mrs. Patterson announced, phone still in hand as she approached. "And the police. This is destruction of property, Harold. There are witnesses everywhere." "It's family business," my father snapped, his amusement fading as he realized the gathering crowd was staring at him with open hostility. "Not anymore," I whispered, watching as the first fire truck rounded the corner. "Can you walk me through exactly what happened again?" Officer Reynolds asked, flipping to a fresh page in her notebook. We sat at my kitchen table the following morning, the acrid smell of smoke still lingering in the air. I came home from my workshop and found him burning everything. The raised beds, the trellises, all my plants. 3 years of work destroyed in minutes, I said, hands wrapped around a mug of untouched tea. "And you're certain it was deliberate?" He was laughing, Officer Reynolds. He had a gas can in his hand, and when I confronted him, he said he was teaching me a lesson. There were at least a dozen witnesses. "Including me," Marcus said, entering from the living room with a laptop. "And I have something you need to see. I set up a security camera last month after that series of bike thefts. It captured everything." Officer Reynolds leaned forward as Marcus played the footage. The video clearly showed my father methodically dousing each garden bed before lighting the match, his satisfied expression visible even from a distance. This is definitely enough for criminal charges, Officer Reynolds confirmed. Arson, destruction of property, potentially reckless endangerment since he did this in a residential neighborhood. He'll just say I was living on his property, that the garden was his, I worried. Are you? Officer Reynolds asked directly. No. I've been renting this place from the Hendersons for 3 years. I have a lease, and I had written permission to establish the garden. My business operates from here, too. I've lost inventory and client orders. Then we have a solid case. I'll need statements from the neighbors as well. As if on cue, Mrs. Patterson knocked on the screen door. I brought muffins and information. Mrs. Patterson, perfect timing, I said, letting her in. Officer Reynolds is taking statements. Well, I've got quite a statement to make. This isn't the first time Harold has pulled something like this, she announced, setting down a basket of muffins. 20 years ago, he burned down his ex-wife's painting studio. My late husband represented her in the lawsuit. Wait, what? I nearly dropped my mug. Before my mom? Yes, dear. His first wife. She was an artist. When she wanted to leave him, he destroyed all her work. Sound familiar? I had no idea, I whispered. Mom never said anything about him being married before. People don't advertise that kind of history, Marcus commented. But it establishes a pattern. It certainly does, Officer Reynolds agreed, making notes. Mrs. Patterson, would you be willing to provide a formal statement about both incidents? Already written it up, dear. Been waiting 20 years to see that man face consequences. The door burst open suddenly, and Claire, my father's girlfriend, stormed in without knocking. This is ridiculous! You're really pressing charges against your own father? She demanded, hands on hips. Claire, this isn't the time, I began. He made one mistake. He feels terrible. Terrible enough to call and apologize? Marcus challenged. He's proud, but he's still your father, Claire insisted. Family forgives. Forgive someone who deliberately destroyed my livelihood while laughing about it? I stood up, anger finally breaking through my shock. Would you forgive someone who burned your salon to the ground, Claire? That's different. How? How is it different? Because your work matters and mine doesn't? He was trying to help you grow up. Move on from playing in the dirt. My playing in the dirt paid my rent and was about to fund my small business loan, I shot back. And now I've lost everything, including my respect for both of you. You'll regret this, Claire warned, backing toward the door. He's already talking to his lawyer. Good, Officer Reynolds interjected calmly. He'll need one. Please tell Mr. Wilson that he's not to contact Miss Wilson directly while this investigation is ongoing. After Claire left, Marcus placed a hand on my shoulder. I have an idea, he said. The community garden downtown has open plots, and I bet if we talk to the neighborhood association, we could help you rebuild, Mrs. Patterson finished. A community project. Show Harold that you're not alone. And document everything, Officer Reynolds added. Every plant lost, every client order affected. We're building a case that won't be easy to dismiss. 2 weeks later, I stood in the community center meeting room, surrounded by printouts of the garden destruction and detailed lists of damages. He's here, Marcus whispered, nodding toward the door where my father had just entered with Claire and a man in an expensive suit. Miss Wilson, the suited man approached, hand extended. I'm Lawrence Brooks, your father's attorney. I believe we can resolve this matter quickly and privately. I'm not interested in private resolutions, I replied, not taking his hand. My losses are well documented and witnessed. My father stepped forward. Delaney, this has gone far enough. You've made your point. My point? What exactly do you think my point is, Dad? That you're upset. I understand that now. Perhaps I was hasty. Hasty? You deliberately destroyed 3 years of work. You burned rare plant varieties I was propagating for clients. You cost me thousands in lost revenue. And I'm willing to compensate you for that, he offered, voice lowering as more people entered the room. Name a reasonable figure. This isn't about money, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. This is about consequences for deliberate cruelty. I'm your father, he snapped, facade cracking. I was trying to help you. By burning my garden? Destroying my livelihood? How exactly was that helping me? You needed to grow up, to stop wasting your time on a hobby and get a real career. My hobby is my career. I was making more from my garden design business than I did in corporate marketing. But you never bothered to ask, did you? His attorney placed a warning hand on his arm, but Dad shrugged it off. You're making a mistake, he hissed. I'm offering to make this right. Right would have been respecting my choices. Right would have been not destroying something I loved. You can't make this right with money. Then what do you want? Claire interrupted. To see your father humiliated? Criminally charged? I want him to face consequences for his actions, I replied steadily. Just like anyone else who commits arson and destruction of property. This is absurd, my father exploded. I'm not going to be treated like a common criminal over some plants. Mr. Wilson, Officer Reynolds cautioned, stepping forward. I suggest you control your temper. Or what? He challenged, stepping toward me. She's doing this for attention. She's always been dramatic ever since her mother left. Step back, sir, Officer Reynolds warned. She's my daughter. I'll talk to her however I want. He grabbed my arm roughly. Marcus immediately moved between us. Let her go, now! Get out of my way, boy! My father growled, shoving Marcus hard enough to send him stumbling. The room erupted in chaos. 2 officers quickly restrained my father, who continued shouting threats. You'll regret this, Delaney! I'll make sure you never work in this town again. You think your little garden friends can protect you from me? As they led him away, his attorney followed, already on his phone. Claire remained behind, shaken. He didn't mean that, she insisted weakly. He just lost his temper. No, Claire, that's exactly who he is, I replied. And now everyone knows it. All rise. Court is now in session. Judge Harmon presiding. I smoothed my skirt nervously as the judge entered the courtroom. After 3 months of preparation, the case was finally being heard. Nervous? Marcus whispered beside me. Terrified, I admitted, but ready. My father sat at the defendant's table, staring straight ahead. He hadn't attempted to contact me since the restraining order was issued after his outburst at the community center. The proceedings moved quickly. The video evidence was damning, as were the statements from neighbors and the documentation of previous incidents. When it was my turn to speak, I approached the stand with steady steps. Miss Wilson, can you tell the court about the impact of the defendant's actions? My attorney asked. My garden wasn't just plants. It was my business, my reputation, and my passion. I lost rare heirloom varieties I'd been cultivating for years. I lost client orders and future contracts. The financial damage exceeds $15,000, but the personal loss is immeasurable. As I spoke, I noticed my father shifting uncomfortably in his seat. After cross-examination, the judge called a brief recess. In the hallway, Claire approached me cautiously. He wants to talk to you, she said. Just for a minute. He has something he wants to say. The restraining order. His attorney cleared it. Just a brief conversation, supervised. Reluctantly, I followed her to a conference room where my father waited with his attorney and a court officer. Delaney, he began, looking older than I remembered. I wanted to apologize properly. I remained silent, waiting. What I did was wrong. I see that now. I was jealous, I think. You found success doing something you love, something that makes you happy. I've never had that. That doesn't justify what you did? No, it doesn't. Nothing does. He sighed heavily. I'm asking for your forgiveness. We're family. This has gone far enough. I studied him carefully. Are you sorry because you understand what you did wrong, or sorry because you're facing consequences? He didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. I can't forgive what you did, I said finally. Not now. Maybe not ever. Actions have consequences, Dad. You taught me that, ironically enough. So that's it? 30 years as your father erased over one mistake? It wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern of dismissing me, belittling my choices, and finally destroying something precious to me. the garden was just the last straw. "What do you want from me then?" he asked, frustration edging into his voice. "Nothing. I don't want anything from you anymore." I turned to leave, then paused. "Except to stay away from me and my new garden." Back in the courtroom, the judge delivered her verdict. My father was found guilty of criminal damage to property, arson, and violation of a restraining order. He received a suspended sentence, substantial fine, mandated community service hours at the Botanical Gardens, and a permanent restraining order. As we left the courthouse, Mrs. Patterson squeezed my hand. "Your new community garden plot is coming along beautifully. Those black dahlias you saved are about to bloom." "They're survivors," I replied. "Like me." "The neighborhood association meeting is tonight," Marcus reminded me. "They're voting on your proposal for the abandoned lot conversion." "From eyesore to community garden," Mrs. Patterson nodded approvingly. "You've turned something destructive into something that will benefit everyone." "That's what good gardeners do," I said, smiling for what felt like the first time in months. We transform. We grow. We create beauty from chaos. As we walked toward Marcus's car, Officer Reynolds approached. "Thought you'd want to know. Your father's community service starts tomorrow. The botanical garden director is a friend of mine. He'll be pulling weeds for the next 6 months." "Poetic justice," Marcus observed. "Justice is enough," I replied. "I don't need poetry." Later that evening, surrounded by neighbors and new friends at the community garden, I planted a fresh row of seedlings. My hands in the soil felt like coming home. "So, what's next for you?" Marcus asked, passing me a trowel. "Rebuilding, growing, moving forward." I pressed the soil firmly around a tiny sprout. "Some things can be destroyed in an instant, but creating something beautiful, that takes time and patience. And community," Mrs. Patterson added, bringing over a flat of herb seedlings. "Especially community," I agreed, looking around at the garden that was already more vibrant and diverse than my old one had ever been. Have you ever had to rebuild something important to you after it was destroyed? Sometimes the new version becomes stronger than the original, like this community garden growing from the ashes of my solitary one. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about resilience and growth, both in gardens and in life.